Whoa, we're back again? Who's that on the other side of the screen?
Yeah, it's
Right?
not. You pointed the right way this time. I'm happy.
Oh god, I'm Nightwing, guys, and he is who? He just
What?
never wants to bounce off my words. Okay, so I was at the gym, lifting a lot, getting buff,
Getting
and
buff.
and I was like, ESPN has always did like global power rankings, and I was like, people don't really do that too often because they're like afraid of getting flamed. And since we're not afraid of getting flamed, we don't care about some 12-year-old in a basement's opinion. I want to do it with
12 year
what the
old in a
West.
basement.
I want to do it with the West because not everybody really gives the West any credit. They always kind of just rank them out of the way of Eastern teams, which is fair. But after I feel like the West has been gradually getting better. We've been seeing at like Worlds and other international competitions too that the West is gradually improving, and not putting them in anywhere is just unfair because of just how much they've actually improved. Now, for right now, at the time of recording this video, North America should not be in the same line as EU. EU is actually better than North America. God, I never thought I'd say that in my life. But right now we're going over the top teams in the West, and not spoiler alert, EU has more. I think that's not really too surprising. So let's actually start with North America first, since I have less. So who do you think is the top team in the West for North America?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious for both regions. The top one for NA is going to be Team Liquid. I mean, they're undefeated. They're the only undefeated team. And on
You
top
don't
of the
think it's
fact,
Golden Guardians? What?
I mean, they also are undefeated in a way. But for the most part, I think that Team Liquid, I mean, they haven't lost a game. Their games have been extremely clean off the back of what I would probably assume is Core JJ shot calling. I mean, Core JJ is probably the single best player in the West right now. I don't even think it's just NA. Just all around, I think he's the best Western player as it stands from EU and NA. I like his shot calling, his playmaking, pretty much everything right now. Is just he's too valuable of a player. But I think just based off that, I would give. I can't imagine him not getting MVP this year, but um, all around, I think that there's a few teams that I don't even think anybody's really challenged Team Liquid this year. Like it's not been like just wins. They've been extremely clean wins on that.
This is the thing. Like their closest game, which was minutely close, was to Cloud9, and at a certain point, Team Liquid's macro and their, I guess, better players turned it
And
around.
Svenskerin's 20 a
Oh
deaths.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, here I'm gonna say for the Cloud9 fans, we didn't have a jungler that game. That doesn't count. But like people need to go back and rewatch that game. It was close for a bit of time, and Niski not hitting crucial skill shots really did ruin the game. But Team Liquid's closest game was against them.
I
But
mean,
Team Liquid right now is still far and away
it
the
wasn't
best.
a close game. It was just closer than the other ones, is what he's trying to say.
Like Team Liquid is still far and away the best team in North America. Like right now, I don't think any team has challenged them. Literally, beside that one game of Cloud9, and that was still kind of like still in TL's favor. But you look at all the other games TL played. TL played Clutch yesterday, and I mean it's clapped a word when Double F beat Piglet really bad.
Shut up.
Now, why did they draft Caitlyn?
Okay, first of all, it was a drafting mistake. They picked the Caitlyn to force them into Ezreal because the top three players, ADCs right now are Lucian, Ezreal, and Kai'Sa. They banned out Lucian and Kai'Sa. Then they picked Caitlyn, which is actually a counter to Ezreal. And obviously they expected him to pick into that, but the Sivir pick is actually pretty decent into Caitlyn if you can get past the very first back with an even thing. So what they did was they ganked the Caitlyn early on, like level 2 if you saw the game, essentially, and then after that they shoved in the lane. Right after they shoved in the lane, they backed. He had a BF sword. If you can, that was super loud. I need to turn that down, but like if you can get past the first part of the laning phase, even as Sivir, like just the first back, just get like a BF sword, you honestly win the game at that point because once you have the 2 points in your Q on top of the AD, your Q out damages pretty much anything Caitlyn can throw at you with the auto attacks. So I don't think Caitlyn is really countered by Sivir, but Caitlyn is countered by Sivir if you don't punish hard enough. You have to get her before that first bag. So they can't. They ganked. Then Caitlyn can pretty much no longer auto attack or the cute Sivir boomerang just pretty much one shots her. So I think that honestly I still think that obviously they played they played the lane better all around the Team Liquid side, but I think that I honestly want to give most of the credit due to poor JJ because he's ridiculous right now. He's actually insane. He caught out every single time Piglet died. Pretty much was just based off of Braum ults. It's ridiculous. Thank you for saying hi in the chat.
Here's the thing, like, I think the way they picked the Caitlyn wasn't bad. I feel like they had a more successful Caitlyn game in scrims and tried to like replicate that on stage. Then you factor in what people used to do with Caitlyn. They used to rotate Caitlyn out of lane. People used to get massively far ahead. Caitlyn used to shove you under your turret, rotate the Caitlyn out of lane, rotate her to mid, rotate her to top, take towers, take Rift Herald. Okay, now you have the Rift Herald advantage, and then now you take dragons, stuff like that. I feel like that happened in scrims, and they try to replicate that on stage. But I just didn't feel like the clutch players themselves played the way they were supposed to play on stage. Because I feel like with the Caitlyn, who's her jungler? Lyra should have level 2 dived, got red buff, level 2.
You can't dive level 2 though. That's the problem.
They should have forced a gank level 2, forced Sivir's flash out, and then try to, dive right after that. Since Dublip's now gonna have no summoners because he's gonna burn most of them, or CoreJ's gonna burn one of his 2. They just played the Caitlyn bad. That's the reason why they lost a lot too.
I mean, it wasn't the Caitlyn pick more so as, honestly, I think that they got smothered by Team Liquid's just movements around the map. Like, the level 2 gank from Team Liquid's side pretty much just set the tone for the game. And then the gank after that where they forced a TP out of Hootie. I mean, obviously they kind of evened out the lane, but they didn't have to burn a TP on top of the fact that Impact pretty much won the lane from there on because he got 20 CS up. When Hootie came back, he never got back into that CS range because once you get behind his Rumble, you can not really come back against an Akali. So
did Impact play Aatrox that game, right?
No, it was Akali.
See, that's the thing. I haven't seen Impact play carry top laners in ages. He usually never plays like that.
I mean, Impact really just... I think he played extremely well this game, to be honest.
He played well both days. It's just... I've never seen him play that well in a while.
It
at least
was
on carry top laner.
Yeah, it was a good pickup. I mean, honestly, I still think Damonte did not play poorly. I really think
His fault they're losing.
Damonte is absolutely one of the best mid laners in NA right now. Like, obviously, what? It's
power ranked at 10.
He was 10th last split, but it's just the way he's shown up this year has been incredible. I think that but all around, I think Team Liquid pretty much. Like, I don't think there's a challenge for them in NA right now. Pretty much the only team in the West that can challenge them is G2, I think.
See, if we had some fantasy right now, because the talk about on Reddit is if, like, okay, TL and G2 go to MSI, in their current form, who do you think wins?
I mean, it's a big toss-up for me because obviously G2 has the way stronger laners. I don't think Caps really beats Jensen as it stands right now by that much, if any. But Wonder does definitely beat Impact. And the bot lane is kind of a toss-up for me because I like the way Perkz is playing, but his ADCs are not as clean as Double SR. I think but he does have the versatility of being able to pick up the mages, which kind of gives them the flexibility in draft, which is kind of cool.
See, this is the thing. Like, if G2 drafts correctly against Team Liquid, they don't really necessarily just lose outright, but they lose in just by the champion pool because they're gonna ban Sion. Outright ban Sion away from Impact. Impact is forced on a carry top laner, unless he's gonna play something like Aatrox or Urgot.
Urgot he's fine on Urgot. I don't think he's good on Aatrox. Well, I mean, he'd have to get the Urgot.
And not only that, G2 has shown they could give Wonder Karma, Sejuani top. Like, I feel like Wonder is just more flexible and just a better player. Then you also have the jungle situation, which can kind of go either way. But right now, Xmithie's probably better than what Jankos has shown.
I agree with that. But the problem with it is...
Then you have mid. Mid is a neutralizer, though.
I don't know if it's neutralized. I still think Caps is slightly better.
But from what we've seen out of Jensen for all these years, Jensen is not...
He's not a push...
He's not below Caps in any way, either.
I think he's definitely below Caps in a way. I still think Caps is slightly better than him.
And if you rate it out of, like, 1 to 10. If Caps was a 10, then Jensen would be like 9.
A 7, 8, an 8.
Really?
I would give him an 8. Yeah.
But that's not even that far away, though.
I mean, it's not far away, but obviously the strength, the difference still is there. I mean, obviously Jensen had those Aatrox plays, but I mean, Caps is just a level by himself right now. I think he's pretty much the best Western mid laner in the world right now. Best Western in the world, yeah.
Ooh. But then you have the bot lane. I think Team Liquid's bot lane just wins just straight out.
I don't think it's straight out. Again, Perks is pretty much too flexible. So even if he knows he's beat on ADCs, he can pretty much just pick a mage. And I don't think Double is going to be incredibly good into them. And honestly, I think the big thing for me is the one-sidedness of Core JJ versus Mickey X. Core JJ is absolutely better than Mickey X. It's not even close in my opinion. But the only deciding factor, since I think the soul lanes pretty much go way in the favor of G2, is going to be Core JJ shot calling, because I think that is going to be the deciding factor. Because I think he's like, if you've heard, he's actually going to be, he's shot calling this team right now. He's been in an A for a little bit. He can speak English. He's the shot caller of this team as it stands, and on top of the fact he's making the laning decisions. So I think if it honestly went to 5 games, if it went to like 3 games against this, I could see Team Liquid coming out on top, just because I just think like G2 might have the mechanically better players, might be smarter, but I just think that when it comes to actual when it comes to actual just decisions around the map, I think that Team Liquid's just got him beat there. Like we saw G2 against XL. Like Team Liquid would not have done that. I'm sorry. I think that
I think if TL was in XL's place, they would have won the game.
I mean, obviously, I don't think Team Liquid would have given that to XL.
See, you got to put in the point of what XL's comp was supposed to beat them early and take objectives more quicker than G2's comp, which is the scaling comp. But they had the Akali, which also scales but doesn't do too well early on in the game. I feel like if TL had the XL comp and had that lead that XL had, I don't feel like G2 would have came.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much goes without saying that they'd win with that much of a lead. But I'm saying I don't think they would have been put in that position, because against XL.
You don't think that Jensen could have did what Caps did against?
You're not No, what I'm saying is XL would not have got that lead against Team Liquid, because I do not think. I know Cage Rule is pretty much this person who just pushes around the map. But I'm really just into this Core JJ macro right now. I just think this is probably the best macro we've had in an A, like, ever. I don't think we've ever had as good macro. Like, obviously, it's only the first 4 weeks, and we'll see how it pans out later on, but as it stands right now, Core JJ is pretty much leading this team in pretty much every way.
But that's good, because I feel like the years Doublelift had to kind of shot call, it's kind of hindered his actual gameplay. We've seen it with Core JJ now that he's able to kind of just focus on his own gameplay and make better decisions now that he's not like trying to kind of, I guess I'd say, micromanage the team, which wasn't good in my opinion anyway. But another interesting factor into them actually is that I feel like Perks' ADC, it's not like incredible, but it's just the actual ADC picks that he plays are a lot worse than Doublelift. But that's could go without saying, because Double's been playing ADC his whole career.
I really don't know who's better at a Team Liquid and G2. It's a really big toss-up for me. Like,
I would see, the problem is, I think based off early game aggression, I think G2 would take the match. If they played an MSI, obviously that's best of 1 double round robin, so they would play twice. I feel like G2 would win the first time around, and then I feel like Team Liquid would come around and beat them the second time around.
I honestly, again, I think that G2's coaching is quite a bit better than Team Liquid's. Like, I'm not really just into this Team Liquid coaching staff right now.
I feel like Team Liquid's also very volatile too. Like, even last year when they were winning, they were all still mad at each other, and like it's just super volatile. Like G2, if you watch their videos, they're all a bunch of friends. They have fun playing the game. That's a lot different when it comes to actual gameplay as well. Like, it's the teams that are able to mesh well and become friends do a lot better than the teams that just put 5 guys together and try to play the game that way. I feel like G2's just overall just a faster team at what TL does. Like, just around the map, they make better decisions just at certain moments. I'm not saying TL doesn't make better decisions, but you also have to factor in. But that kind of factors into the rest of the league to kind of compare them. Let's see. Let's go. TL's 5-0. G2 is 6-0. G2 has to face teams like Misfits, Schalke. Team Liquid's face Cloud9, and that's pretty much it, because the other teams just haven't been able to really.
I mean, they pretty much. I think Team Liquid's probably faced the best teams in NA. That's all we have to offer. I don't think. Again, I really don't know, because there's really, besides Team Liquid, I don't think there's a single competent team in NA.
See, that's the thing. I think Cloud9 could be that team. They really, Svenskeren is a problem because Licorice is doing fine. Stop putting him on Victor. He completely carries games without Victor. We've seen it so many times. It's Sneaky and Zeyzal are fine. People thought they were going to be a liability going into the split. They're not even a liability. They've actually been ahead in some games too. It's literally Svenskeren. How do you play Lee Sin and you're 0-3 and you're not ganking? Like, what is that?
This is, again, even though we don't want to blame, like, that does 100% put them behind, in my opinion, because they don't have a jungler.
They don't have a jungler.
Yeah, again, and honestly, the lack of lane dominance coming out of bot lane is still another big problem.
But they're not, like, it's like the clutch bot lane. If they don't lose, they go even, which is fine. Like, sometimes you just don't have to win. You can just go even and transition your leads into team fights. They don't have a jungler making proactive moves around.
I mean,
the map.
it wasn't just that. If you watch the Team Liquid game, they absolutely lost.
I mean, that's
Sneaky got solo killed. Like, that should not happen.
We literally expected that.
No one expects a solo kill out of an ADC.
No, like we expected.
That's
the
like
bot lane
out
to
of a
be
mid
better.
lane, but like a solo kill is kind of ridiculous. Like Team Sneaky definitely does lose laning phase to like the better ADCs. It's just what happens.
But if you just take out, but we know their bot lane was going to lose anyway.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I will give credit to Sneaky. I think he played quite a bit, like pretty well in some of these games, but he definitely is one of the weaker, like in terms of laning phase. He is definitely would lose to a lot of these European mid lanes.
I don't even lose to Perks.
ADC.
That's a little too much.
I would not even be surprised, to be honest, because like Perks, if he plays a mage, is probably gonna beat Sneaky.
Well, yeah, but like mages.
If he plays Lucian, it would. They don't just have an early game power spike; they have a mid game power spike too. You only really take over the game during the late game, and even then, mages can easily beat you.
Then you also have to. See, here's the thing. I think Cloud9 can be the team that can take them. We just need a jungler. Like, he's just not been like you. Well, you said it earlier on too. He was going to be inconsistent. Like, he could definitely change it.
I mean, I agree with that. I still don't really like. Again, I think that Cloud9 is in the top 3 still for teams in NA, and that's always going to be the case.
Well, that's the thing. Like, remember how we were watching the games live? Svenskeren wasn't the reason why they were winning. They won by just laning phase and making proactive moves with Zeyzal. Svenskeren was kind of just there.
Who did they play that game?
They played 100 Thieves a day. After Niski, no, because like remember after Niski solo killed Huhi, then the game kind of just stalled out for like 5 minutes, and you saw them just beating their opponents just to beat their opponents. It wasn't like Svenskeren really doing anything.
If you want my honest opinion, Cloud9 looks absolutely weaker than last year. Like they have essentially.
I think it could be better.
They could not be better. Like they're essentially playing the same style they played last year, with the replacement playing through mid, but they have a weaker mid laner this year. Like I don't think they can be better because I don't think Niski can get to that level.
I think he can be at least in the top. I think he can be above Power Vivo to match Jensen and Bjergsen as top 3.
I don't think he's gonna. I mean I guess as it stands right now, I think he might be in the top 4, but he's not better than Amante. He's not playing better than Jensen.
He's playing a little bit better than Bjergsen at the moment.
I mean, Bjergsen's not playing amazing, so I'm not too surprised, but I'm not too impressed. Niski's playing good, just not very top. He's not in the elite, which I would put DeMonte and Jensen right now. Those are and Paul Belter's playing better than him too.
Like Reaper and Sneaky said today, they're trying to integrate him into the team. It's still kind of a growing.
I mean, I wouldn't even say that. I feel like he's by far and away the best player on the team. Like maybe Licorice is the second best.
I was
Like,
gonna say Licorice is better because they
Licorice had a good first game.
They played around Licorice a lot.
I'll
more
agree with
recently.
that. Licorice by the first game was a better player, but after the first game, I think that Niski was obviously the better player out of the two. Like Niski has been better ever since the first game.
But if we look at their games, they're not playing through mid; they're playing through Licorice's leads.
You can say whatever you want, but I'm seeing the solo kills coming out of mid lane. He's literally generating so much pressure in mid lane. Licorice is. I mean, you can play through top all you want. Like all of this is possible because essentially Niski is shutting down the mid lane every single game.
And then you also have to factor in like they're I feel like they're fine. The issue with Svenskeren is that he's not doing anything. He's supposed to be an early game proactive jungler.
I mean,
he's on his patented Lee Sin pick. Like he's known for Lee Sin as well as other people in North America too. Like he gets the early game jungler, which they're supposed to give him, and he doesn't do anything. So
I mean,
he's not generating pressure. He's not ganking.
He's definitely ganking. I mean, you saw him on the Nunu. He attempted ganks many times.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, like what I like about what's his name? Is he will always attempt ganks. Like he's attempting
yeah.
ganks, he's just failing.
He's like the North American version of Pina. We don't know what he's become. He's just like
I don't. The thing about it is, Jet and Svenskjern does this every year, so I'm not even caring.
But that really does hinder them because if they had a top tier jungler, they would easily be not probably able to beat Team Liquid consistently, but they would be able to match them.
I just think the macro, and on top of the fact that Core JJ is just too much for this bot lane to handle, I don't think they could do it even with a good jungler.
But who else do you think that could be a comparable to even Team Liquid besides Cloud9? You're gonna say Clutch.
In NA? I don't think
Clutch.
anybody. I really don't think anybody else is competent in NA. I'm sorry.
If Clutch played on form, maybe.
I even then their macro's pretty bad. Like there's just no one in NA that I think is really competent.
They're just early game aggression. They're literally Echo Fox of last year. Echo Fox last year had no macro. They just fought 24/7. It didn't matter if it was 40 minutes in the game or 20 minutes. They're always gonna fight you.
Yeah, but the thing about it is they're mechanically good enough to where anybody that's not an elite team will lose to that. I just think
but like that we've seen that never translates to like internationally at all.
I agree with that. I mean, that's is the case, but what I'm saying is, I mean, that's pretty much what IG did.
But IG even this year has a kind of a
they're just insanely proactive. That's all they are. They don't once they fall behind, they're done. They can't come back from behind.
They've talked about it. They're like they want to be the team that can play a different style if they don't have their first style go through. Just more like a backup.
But they can't. Like their style is literally just early game proactivity and aggressiveness. And if they lose the early game, they lose.
But
That's
we saw that against Snake. They were winning against Snake, and then they proactive mid game team fights is where they shine, which is really weird considering that they weren't never known for that.
I mean, they didn't. Again, they're getting these early game lane leads, and then they're winning off that. If they get behind in the lanes, they lose. That's just Invictus Gaming. I think that can translate if your players are good enough. But the thing about it is, Clutch Gaming is just stupid, man. Like Lyra is just invading constantly, man, and like Huni is just following him. They both need to stop.
Like. I feel like Cloud9 and Clutch have the potential to challenge Team Liquid. Cloud9 a bit more, but
I don't think either one of them have nearly.
I would say Clutch have a bit more of that explosive factor that can surprise Team Liquid.
I just think,
but they're not playing their explosive factor like correctly.
The thing about it is, Clutch Gaming has the players, and Cloud9 has the brains to do it.
So that's the thing. We have two different teams that could do it, but they're not playing what.
I don't think either one of them are ever going to get to the level where they can beat Team Liquid. But the thing about it is, in Europe, I can honestly see a few teams challenging G2. Like, I could see Schalke challenging G2 later on in this season, and just the random explosiveness of Vitality could easily, like, they could set off a game or two against G2. So all around,
Europe's different though.
Europe has good teams. That's why. Like,
see, that's the issue. Europe is in a weird vacuum where it's G2. There's there's like an S tier with G2. There's an A tier with like 3 other teams, and then there's like a B tier.
What 3 teams are in there?
No. Okay, S is G2. We know that, right?
I think pretty much A plus tier is Schalke, and then it goes below that.
A plus tier? What kind of tier list are you making?
I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I would not put Vitality as a B tier, but they're not as good as Schalke.
So you would have SG2 A Schalke, right?
Yeah. And
then would you put Misfits in the A tier?
I would put Vitality and Misfits like right next to each other, but I'd put Schalke above those two as it stands.
So Misfits and Vitality B, Schalke A, G2S.
Schalke's better than the two that I just said.
So, but you still get the feeling that Vitality could beat Schalke because in the very first game they played, it was very close. I don't know what they were doing dancing around the Baron when they could have took it. It was very close between them, but then we've seen them branch off, play different teams, so we can kind of see who's the better team at this point. It's Schalke right now.
See, the thing about it is, from that first game, I think that Schalke has improved drastically, where so is Vitality has not improved by that much. I think it's obvious. Like, again, we saw the game against Splice with them. They should have lost that game.
Like recently, Rogue. They were losing bad.
Like, I'm not convinced on this Vitality right now. The thing about it is, I think the only reason I rate them so high is because their individual players are so good. But all around, I think they're just genuinely not a smart team. I think they're pretty much, like, in my opinion, a smarter version of Clutch Gaming. They beat Clutch Gaming. Like, they beat pretty much everybody but Team Liquid from NA. I think I would put it out. I think that it pretty much goes G2, Team Liquid, and then 3 other teams from Europe. Like it's just how it is right now. Like
well, if we like global power rankings for the West, that would be like
yeah,
G2, TL. I would still put G2 and TL at tied at first, but if you
I
put,
wouldn't
like,
put.
second, if you put second, Schalke, I would put Misfits over Vitality though.
I really would because I feel like Misfits is probably the smarter team. But the thing about it is, I couldn't say that they would for sure beat them because Vitality is just so like just random. Like, but the thing about it is, I would put those top 4 would pretty much be everybody but but Team Liquid from NA. I think it's a really big toss up for G2 and Team Liquid. I'd like to say that Team Liquid would win, but we haven't seen Team Liquid have to face anybody good, so it's hard for me to say.
I just feel like a team like G2 would just give them a run for their money.
Yeah,
They play way too fast early on.
Yeah, again, that's a good thing, and I think that Doublelift would struggle against these mage bot lanes. So I think all around, a G2 might actually be able to beat.
If they played at MSI, they're gonna go 1-1. I don't believe G2 would 2-0 them, but I do believe G2 would win the first time around.
See, the problem is G2 has to win that early game. I think G2 will almost always win that, but if they don't smash this early game, they don't have as good a shot calling. I think
that's the thing. We've seen that they've been behind a couple games where they've shown that their shot calling is not even that bad.
Who's?
Or G2.
Yeah, but it's not as good as Team Liquid's. I'm sorry. Team Liquid knows how to close out games because I honestly think, like again, Core JJ has absolutely just revived this team. Core JJ is leading this team in what I would say is probably the best direction. Best player in NA. I think he's better than everybody in EU too. I'm gonna put that. Like I really think Core JJ is that good.
I still want to put a support above everybody else.
I'm going to put a support above everybody in EU. I
can't do that.
You don't have to do it. I'm doing it.
I mean, I still say that you factor in that Core JJ has to out macro G2.
He's doing
all 5 players.
I don't care. I think he's absolutely capable of that.
All 5 pretty much better players on that team than probably half the region we have.
I mean, I think that Doublelift is very much comparable to that team. I think that Jensen is also another comparable. I think that X-Smithy is playing better than Jankos right now. Like you're
actually playing better than half the journals in EU.
Yeah, you're making it sound like the gap and everything is gigantic. It's the solo lanes mostly. I mean, again, Doublelift. If you don't put Jankos, Perks on a mage, he's not going to beat Doublelift on ADC versus ADC. It's just not going to happen.
But we also have to count in Core JJ being able to out macro and what's the word I'm looking for? Roam effectively. His roams are not going to work against Caps.
It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to roam mid. And on top of the fact, I don't even think he needs... Roams are good, but it's not about that. Most of the roams, if you watch the games, have come out of people collapsing in mid. I mean, on bot. They collapse on bot, and that's how they do it pretty much most of the games. And then they force the other team to be reactive about it. Then pretty much Impact gets the lead from there. Like, that's essentially their strategy.
Let's say if this was Rift Rivals and we put Clutch goes to Rift Rivals as top 3, which is not gonna happen, but
I think that pretty much
how would Clutch fare up against Vitality?
I think Clutch would not win. I don't think I just don't think anybody besides Team Liquid would do well against these like the thing about it is Attila Jack Troll would really struggle against Piglet Vulcan.
You really think Attila would struggle against Piglet?
Attila's lane phase is absolutely atrocious. Yes, I do think he would. I don't like him on...
Attila had a different support. His lane phase is better.
Than whose?
And Piglet's, because...
He's not as good as Piglet. I'm sorry.
You even said yourself that the support dictates the lane.
It doesn't matter. You're saying that if he had a better support, then what?
I feel like the laning phase gets a lot better because I feel like he gets classified with Jack Troll too much. Jack Troll's actually not good.
I mean, the thing about it is you can definitely exert pressure as an ADC. It's just dictated by the support. If it's an engaged support, obviously. I think that Piglet's laning phase is his best quality. I mean, he would not lose laning phase to Attila. But that's pretty much the only place they win in. And
yeah, because Cavalstar's been playing better than Huni for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's I couldn't see anybody... And on top of the fact, even if Clutch Gaming gets the lead, I don't know what they do with it. What do they just walk around and just try and dive him in their inhib turrets?
They're basically like Vitality. They just fight you.
Yeah, but Vitality has a brain. It's aggravating, man. I love...
Mowgli's okay, I think, but his okay is better than Lyra's okay.
So if we set 3 teams, it would probably be Cloud9, Clutch Gaming, and Team Liquid. It would be
With
the three
fantasy,
teams.
right?
Yeah. And then on top,
Whoa.
and then
Whoa, I forgot. We're not counting FlyQuest. Someone's gonna mention we don't mention FlyQuest.
I don't care.
We are 3-1.
I don't care. I'm not putting FlyQuest in the top 3. I don't think they've had a hard enough schedule for me to believe in them. They've had one team, which is Team Liquid. I'm Team TSM, that they've done well in.
And then they've had an early game where they visibly did absolutely nothing with it.
I'm sorry, like FlyQuest, I believed in them the first week, but they really did show me something in that CLG game where they were pretty much unable to do anything. I don't believe in them that much anymore. I don't care about their record.
I didn't believe in them at all. I still don't.
I
think
they're gonna make
overrate
playoffs, but
week 1 performance. People overrate week one performances so hard.
but
It's
we're in
not-
week 3 now.
Well, I know, but like people really overrate like week 1 and compare it to like the other weeks. FlyQuest, people can just overperform week 1. We saw that with SK.
Yeah, but
We saw
it's
that with other teams in Korea, China. It's just
you got to give credit where credit is due, though. They have been playing
You
good.
don't even do that. You're not even giving credit to FlyQuest. They're being 3-1.
I didn't put them at. You want to put them at second, and I said they're gonna make the playoffs.
Playoffs. FlyQuest probably not, but
They are gonna make the playoffs. I don't see it unless CLG might make the playoffs, but CLG, TSM, Team Liquid, Cloud9, Clutch Gaming, and then probably FlyQuest. I think those are gonna be the 6 teams in the playoffs. I mean,
so like, if we had a Rift rivals with Clutch, Cloud9, TL, Vitality, and you have Schalke, who would you send it out of Europe?
Schalke, Misfits, and G2.
Schalke, you wouldn't. So you just wouldn't send Vitality.
No, I don't think they're gonna make it. I think that Misfits is gonna be in the top 3 by the end of the season, by the end of the split. Actually,
We haven't actually touched Misfits. Do you think Misfits could beat TL?
see, that's a big problem with me because a lot of the strength, I honestly think in Korea most of the time, pretty much most of the time, Gorilla was better than CoreJJ. That's just been the case. But the problem with it is, the reason why CoreJJ is translating so much better is because of the cultural impact. Like, he's been around the culture of NA. He was an NA player for a bit. He speaks English better than Gorilla does.
He played ADC before.
But the problem is, Gorilla has way better shot calling. If he can really kind of influence the team itself, I think he could pretty much make a big impact on this team. I think later on in the season, he's probably going to be equal. Like, he's going to catch up to CoreJJ, but as it stands right now, CoreJJ, with his probably better English speaking, is going to be the better player. But then we have Team Liquid, Doublelift versus Hansama. I think that's pretty, I'm going to be honest, that's pretty even. I think that Hansama is definitely up there, and so is, like, I think
it's probably even. I still, it's not innate bias, but I still would kind of favor Doublelift. Hansama looks like he's getting, looks like he's getting carried. It just looks like he's not at the same level as Gorilla. I mean,
that's to be expected, but I still think Gorilla. Hansama knows what to do with his gold. Like, if he gets that lead, Doublelift's not coming back.
We saw that before. They actually did play against each other before.
But again,
versus Misfits at 2017.
But the problem is, again, I think that until Gorilla kind of gets the leadership mantle of this team, I do not see them out shot calling this team, and they don't have good enough laners to take over the game. Like, Jensen is just gonna beat Featherman. It's just gonna happen.
It happened here.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Impact is pretty much. He's not gonna. I wouldn't say he's gonna lose to.
He's faced Solas many times.
Yeah, he's not gonna lose.
Usually just go even. They
Yeah,
play
it's
like the same stuff.
It's pretty even in there. Jungle, I think that Xmithy's playing better than
I don't think he's playing better than Maxlor though.
Maxlor played good at the beginning of the year, but I don't think he played well this last week. This last week, I think a lot of it came off of his back. Like
from them being behind.
Yeah, I honestly don't think he played well this last week. And Xmithy has played well every single week. I don't think he's had a bad game yet.
That's weird though. He's called the EU Xmithy. That's so weird.
But I'm all around. I think that Team Liquid would win this based off of macro, but. Misfits could win this. I think that Misfits could easily challenge them. And then the
Misfits would lose. Actually, we saw they lost that one team. What, XL?
Again, I said they would probably lose, but I definitely think on a good day they could probably challenge Team Liquid. But the team that I think would give the most trouble to Team Liquid would be Schalke. I think that Schalke has an easily way better bot lane. I think that Upset's just way better than Doublelift in my opinion. I think that Upset has quite a bit of an edge over Doublelift. I think that Ignar is gonna, in terms of laning phase, is very much comparable to Core JJ. The mid lane, I think that, like, again, like, the problem with that is I do think Jensen wins that, but I don't think it's gonna be a big enough problem is the thing. I think that, again, jungle goes in the favor. I would honestly give jungle in the favor of Schalke, because I just feel like Memento does have that edge. I think he's quite a bit better on the carry, what's it called? And that's pretty much all Xmithie's been playing. And then top lane, obviously, Odoamne's playing way better than Impact right now. So I think that if they can get out of the laning phase, I think that Team Liquid could win this, but I really think that laning is going to be a big... Like, even then, like, Upset is a better late game ADC than Doublelift is. I think that Doublelift will have the edge in the laning phase, but that's only if, like, Core JJ can get the edge on Ignar. Ignar versus Core JJ will be the deciding factor of this game, in my opinion, if that ever happened.
I just feel like Ignar's actually been playing as good.
I think he's been playing. I mean,
carried by Upset for like.
It was only a week. It was only a week. I think that he played badly.
It was the first 2 weeks he was definitely getting carried by Upset.
No, it was the first week, and then maybe a game in the second week. But in the second game of the second week, I think he played really well. And then every game since then, I think he's played fine. So I think that if it came down to it, I do not think Schalke would lose to I feel
like Schalke could actually beat Team Liquid.
I really
like if they played in it like a best of like what is it, Richard? You played twice, right?
Yeah. The thing about it is, like, Upset will turn this game around if you let him get to late game. He's
Memento, I feel like Memento would be the deciding factor in the early game, which would set a catalyst for how the match would actually go. I feel like Memento pulls off his ganks more effectively and more sufficiently than Xmithie does, just in a certain way that dictates the game over. Like, the way Memento ganks, the game's over. The way Xmithie ganks is like he gets them a lead, but then it's like a toss-up on who's going to carry the game. The way Memento ganks is that he just wins the game for you. I feel like that's a lot more big of a determining factor than just a person who ganks and just to basically just give resources, hoping that this other person is going to do the right thing with it. Like, Memento can gank, get his own resources, take that lead, use it himself, give it to his other players, or just carry the game by himself. He's just way more effective.
So I mean, again, I think that the top three teams, I think it goes. I really don't know who to put above.
Out of the West. See, this is the thing. So let's kind of group it in like ranking, like tiers. So S tier, would you put G2 and Team Liquid together?
G2, if we're just doing tiers, obviously I'd put those two together, but I feel like people are gonna want us to be a little bit more decisive about that.
I do want to say G2 is the better. I do.
Like, G2 just has the laning advantage by too much.
I don't think it's by like so.
It's by quite a bit. Once it comes down, I still think Caps wins against Jensen, and then Impact gets dominated by Wonder. Like.
Yeah, because like if Impact's losing to Licorice, and he'll definitely lose to.
And then the flexibility that Perkins brings with the ability to play mages is just too much for Team Liquid. So I would honestly put G2 above. I put G2, then Team Liquid, then Schalke, Misfits. No, Schalke, Misfits, Vitality. I think those are the top 5 for Western teams. I'd like to put like another NA team.
Honorable mentions between like Cloud9, Clutch, and Vitality, right? No.
I put Vitality up there already, so it's pretty much just
one NA team,
one NA team, and 4 EU teams. Yeah, I think that's probably the case right now.
What other EU teams are we not looking at for honorable mentions?
I mean, I don't really think anybody else in the EU is really that great. I mean, obviously they have SK Gaming. Those are lower tier teams though.
Excel.
I mean, we have Origin. I don't really think there's a Splice. I mean, they're all there. I just don't think there's another good EU team after that.
If you had to honorable mention Splice, would Splice be able to beat like Cloud9 or Clutch? I don't feel like they would.
I just don't like. Again, I think they have a good bot lane, but I think that's their strongest point. I don't think that's good enough.
They got absolutely ran over last week.
I just think that there's just not a strong enough besides bot lane, a strong enough position in Splice for me to give him too much credit. Vizicachi's just underperforming so hard.
You really hate him now.
I'm sad. I don't hate him. He's been so good throughout his entire career that it frustrates me.
They replaced him with Odoamne on Schalke.
It's surprising because I honestly feel like Vizicachi has the edge last year. It's kind of a surprising choice, but it worked out really well. So,
but the thing with Splice, that Splice have a jungler, and Cloud9 and Clutch do not. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I agree with that.
God, you know what it feels like to have a jungler? It feels great. Gosh, our jungler plays Nunu and fails. Oh God.
So yeah, I mean, if you're gonna mention two teams from NA, I mean, you would have to put out Cloud9 and Clutch Gaming. Those are really the only two teams that I could think of. Maybe TSM.
I would not put TSM there. They look absolutely atrocious.
I think they look good on they're just inconsistent in my
I
opinion.
think Broken Blade makes them look good.
It's not even just that. I think that I honestly think once this team gets a hold of what they're planning on doing around the map, I think they're gonna look better. As it stands right now, I don't think anybody like Bjergsen's underperforming. This bot lane is just not impressive at all. This bot lane's horrible right
You
now.
power rank that bot lane like best.
I did, and they're horrible.
I power rank the court. No, wait, yeah.
You power rank Sven in the top, and I power
You
rank.
said Sven was first.
You said Sven was like third or
I
second.
said Doublelift was first, and you're like, no, you're an NA bias, dude.
I didn't even say that. I didn't disagree because it's obviously something that is very fair. I just didn't expect Sven. Sven is underperforming this year. He played a lot better last year.
But we did say that he has a new mid laner, a new support now. He's played with the same support for 4 years.
I'm sorry. There's no excuse for how he's playing. He's just getting caught out. There's all of the stuff.
Team fighting sucks.
Yeah, it's just not the same Sven. So
it's not really Smoothie's fault. If you look at their actual laning phase, Smoothie's playing just fine.
I think Smoothie is probably the worst player in this lane, but again, I don't think it's by much. I think Sven's still underperforming too. So, you got anything else to say? I think we've pretty much acknowledged most of the teams.
We could acknowledge draft and macro. That's something probably something people would bring up.
I mean, there's enough. We could say things
like just the picks for Europe and between North America. Like, do you think there's a certain different style?
I mean,
between you and NA, or
I brought up the consistent. I think that what's it called? I think that the ability to play mages is something that's going to give G2 the edge. I've given a few. I think they're more willing to play these kind of picks that haven't been played yet. G2, I don't really see NA doing that. Like pretty much the most volatile thing you'll see is Bang getting Victor, and that's not impressive at all.
Oh, it's not like that. What I meant by what I was saying was just the way the region looks with draft compared to EU. It feels like EU drafts for macro, NA drafts for early game aggression. Like,
I would
yes,
honestly
EU drafts for early game aggression too, but EU's early game drafting is more based off having scaling macro and early game aggression.
You can't have scaling macro and early game aggression. That's impossible.
I've seen it all.
Yeah, but I honestly really couldn't tell you besides singular teams because they all have different drafts. So
See, that's the thing. They don't all draft the same. That's the issue. The champ with the worst win rate is Victor. He's at 33%. But anybody with a brain would have known that.
But I mean, there's really not. I mean, we pretty much acknowledged most of these concepts, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at some just the basic draft and like look at what EU does differently than North America in their drafting phase specifically, because they always seem to first pick a Kali and flex it between mid and top.
Every region is doing that though.
NA usually likes to flex the Urgot first.
I mean, they're both picking Urgot and Akali. It's all getting played.
But then there are some teams that don't take the Lucian. They take the scaling Kai'Sa. We've seen EU rather take Draven. Draven's more of a bigger pick in EU than in North America.
Again, that's a big thing. I said EU is willing to play these kind of off meta picks, and that's what I think that gives them an edge too.
Because we've seen Definitely play. It's either we saw Definitely play Draven, and then we saw Attila play Draven.
So, yeah, any other things to say about this game?
We're gonna have to do top teams for the East.
Eventually, I mean, it's kind of hard to rank right now. It's just a complete mess.
For the East, probably like IG, FunPlus Phoenix, Suning.
Wait, why did you put FunPlus Phoenix?
They look really good.
They look fine. I mean, they look decent, but I would not.
Hater.
You want to put them at second? That's ridiculous.
I don't know, not second. I was just IG, FunPlus, Suning, Top Sports, Griffin, SKT. That's pretty much it for the East, I think.
So,
if I could rank them.
I mean, well, I'll rank them later on. I'd have to think about it. So,
you're putting Griffin at number 1, aren't you?
Everybody's
Over
going.
IG.
I mean, I don't know. I put IG as number 1 last year, remember? When no one else even knew about them? Because
I
I'm a
put
genius.
IG beating KT Rolster. And people thought
I
was
literally said at the beginning of the year that IG was better than all of these. You're like, no, they're not. Don't even act like you had some insight.
Yes, I did. You said, "Oh my god, if they win laning phase, they win." How in the world does that happen against better like teams who are competent?
No one was better than IG. That's the reason. They had better laning phases than every team in the world. I told you that at the beginning of the year, and I said that's gonna win them a lot of games. I said they could easily make it to semis at World. You're like, I don't even think they're better than RNG, and I said they're better than RNG the entire year.
Oh yeah, how many splits did they win against RNG?
I don't care. Like at first split, they didn't even have the Shy, and they just got into Duke. The second split, they just got back to Shy, so he wasn't into form yet.
I don't know, because at that current point in time, you still have to factor in, like, yes, teams that win lane, win game, traditionally do not work at certain points at international events because people can either counterpick your playstyle, pick different.
You can't counterpick a playstyle if you're not good enough to counter it. Is the big thing that I like. You can't counterpick a playstyle if you don't have the laning prowess.
See, that's the thing. I didn't factor that in with IG, and then when I watched their games, and there's a point where they subbed in their billionaire owner because they were just that far ahead of everyone.
I mean, they played one of the worst teams, to be fair.
It was so far ahead, and you play your owner. That's just insane. They're just still really good too. But I like that this year they're trying to do something different. You know, try to win without being ahead and trying to play a different style while still having their original style still be their main focus too.
A lot of their games have been shaky this year, to be honest. But
they said they are trying different stuff.
They should not try different stuff. Just keep winning lane and you'll win.
It's the regular season.
All right. So you got anything else to say before we head off?
Do you want to hug me?
All right. I think that's pretty much it. All
if
right.
you
So
want your questions answered live.
Yeah, I'll leave the link in the description. Oh, he will. Apparently, he's doing stuff with this video, so he'll leave the link in the description to the channel if you want to answer your questions live, and that's pretty much it. See you later.
Yeah. Did that one dude say we could come over? So